Hey, what's going on, folks? Alright, today I want to talk about abuse. Now, the type of abuse I want to talk about mostly, two different kinds: child abuse, domestic abuse. These are two things that have affected my life, either directly to me or to someone I care about. These are completely unacceptable to do either of these actions. Now, I know most reasonable people that are listening to this are going, well, no shit, you don't need to tell us that. But there's enough stupid people in this world that I think I need to clarify. Now, let's talk about child abuse first. Child abuse is extremely unacceptable. It's outlandish, and I think that people should start getting harsher penalties when it is proven that they abuse their children or they abuse someone else's children. The abuse of a minor, someone that is still growing and still learning, usually isn't even because you're mad at the kid. It's because you're mad at something else going on in your life, and that child is the easiest target, the only person that can't fight back against you. Whether this abuse be physical, mental, emotional, or even verbal. Now, verbal abuse isn't really as bad as physical or emotional, but it can have strains on the child. It can make the child become very antisocial. It could make them have trust issues with other people because they're scared that someone's going to lash out at them, whether it be physically or verbally. Hurting a child is the most despicable thing I think you can really do on this planet. And being a victim of child abuse myself, I love my father, but he had a temper. And he had no problem letting us kids know how he felt. Whether it be verbally, emotionally, or physically. My dad had a tendency to fly off the fucking handle that damn quick. Granted, my dad's got his shit under check, and he feels terrible for what he did when he did it. Doesn't change the fact that he did it, but me and my sisters have come to terms with the fact that my dad has gone and gotten the help he needed, and has on multiple occasions apologized to us and tried to make things right for us. And so I've personally found it in my heart to forgive my father, and I hope that one day he'll actually forgive himself. Now, let's talk about domestic abuse. Now, this is a topic you can go a little bit more in depth into, because child abuse, like I said, while it may be the most despicable thing you can do on this planet, it's so fucking self-explanatory, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about it. But domestic abuse. Now, domestic abuse, once again, can be emotional, verbal, physical. You got all different types of categories of violence and abuse. But a lot of people don't know that domestic abuse can actually go either way. Women can be just as abusive as men. Maybe not physically, but emotionally. And someone I love, someone I care for deeply, was actually a victim of domestic abuse this past holiday on New Year's Eve. This person's significant other got drunk, has a temper, and has actually been known to lash out violently at people. He assaulted her, tried to kill her by choking her, hitting her while she was driving, trying to take his drunk ass home with their 13-month-old child in the back seat. He gave no regard for his own life, for her life, or that child's life. He's a piece of shit, and the only reason I haven't done something to him is because I have a family that I need to provide for, or else I would have handled him myself. But the law has it right now. He was arrested. He has been charged. He's out on bail right now, but he has a court date. This person has got a restraining order against them. He's not allowed to see his significant other or his 2 children as of right now. The court systems may deem that a bit too harsh and allow him to see his kids. They might deem that he's a threat to them and those kids still, even though he's sober. Because apparently the only time he lashes out like this is when he's drunk. I don't care. Alcohol is not an excuse. Just because you get drunk and you act stupid, whatever, you make an ass of yourself, that's one thing. You can laugh that shit off the next morning, or you can live with the regret of the fact that you made an ass of yourself. That's on you. But when you consume alcohol, it is not a free pass to go out and hurt somebody. Not yourself, not somebody else, nobody. It's not a free pass. It's not an excuse. It's a cop-out. It's exactly what it is. Now, I enjoyed my New Year's Eve. I got drunk with some family and I passed out on their living room floor. Don't do it very often, but I made an ass of myself. I've got a temper. You can ask anybody that knows me. I've got a fucking temper. I didn't hurt nobody. I didn't go out and try to hurt nobody or hurt myself. I got drunk, had a good time, made an ass of myself, passed the fuck out. Didn't try to go nowhere. Nothing like that. But this motherfucker got angry, got drunk, and thought that it was okay to hurt somebody. Now, as fucked up as that is, women can be just as abusive. I've already said that once before. Women actually the statistics of 2015 actually showed that domestic abuse was almost 50-50 between violence from men to women and women to men. Now, a lot of cases aren't reported by men, I'm guessing, because I know if my wife whooped my ass, I wouldn't be calling the cops and going, she whooped my ass, because I'd be fucking embarrassed, because my wife stands at 5'3", maybe 145 pounds. I stand at 6'2", I weigh almost 200 pounds. I'm military trained. If my wife whooped my ass, I'd be so fucking embarrassed, I wouldn't report it. And a lot of guys feel the same way, because in our society, if a man gets his ass handed to him by a woman, we're looked at as weak. We're told, well, she's just a girl. She couldn't hit you that hard. And once again, like I said, domestic abuse, any sort of abuse doesn't have to be physical. Women use their kids, their children as pawns against men sometimes. Sometimes they're just very emotionally abusive, because men do have emotions, contrary to popular belief. And they say some mean, nasty, hurtful things to men that, while we like to act tough and suck it up and whatnot, it really does hit a note. It strikes home sometimes. Most of the time we're able to just shrug it off. Me, I don't give a fuck. I'll shrug the shit off. What I hate is when my wife gives me the silent treatment. Oh my god, that drives me nuts. But women and men are just as abusive to each other. Like I said, the statistics for 2015 were almost 50-50. So, enough with the double standards. I'm not saying it's ever right for a man to put his hands on a woman, but it's also not right for a woman to put her hands on a man, or for either of them to abuse each other in any way, shape, or form. It shouldn't be done. You definitely should never put your hands on a child in a violent manner. Now, I'm not talking about punishing a child. If you gotta punish a child, punish the child. But don't abuse the child. There's a fine line between punishment and abuse. Now, I've lost my temper with my kids, and I've spanked them while I was angry. And I smacked them harder than I should have, than I meant to. And my wife jumped down my fucking throat about it. And looking back on it, she was right. I crossed the line. I should have had my ass handed to me on that. It's scary how quickly things can escalate. So I understand in some cases where shit happens, where people don't mean to abuse their children or their significant other, things just got out of hand quickly. But that's still not an excuse. Don't do it. Don't punish your kids while you're angry, because you might give them a punishment that is way more severe than the crime. And you could end up hurting them emotionally, physically. You never know. You fight with your significant other, your spouse, hell, any loved one. Don't put your hands on them, obviously. First off, that's assault. Or, excuse me, that's not assault, that's battery. Battery's a crime. You don't want to get... You don't want to go to jail. No one wants to go to jail. Jail sucks. But you don't want to hurt anybody. That's the thing. If you do, you're a sick individual. If you're fighting with somebody, the best thing you could do is walk away from the situation, calm down, and try to see it from their point of view, and then go back and have a civil conversation. Now, I'm not saying I do this all the time, because I'm human. I let my emotions get the better of me at some points in time, but I also do try to walk away and figure out the best solution to the problem when I can. Abuse, whether it be child abuse, domestic abuse, any sort of abuse, it's not acceptable, people. We all need to do this. We all need to find a better way of handling situations and handling our anger and our emotions. Because if you don't, well, then you get locked up for beating on your kids, your spouse, some random guy or woman that you just happen to be having an altercation with out in public. You never know. You gotta get the shit under wraps, because there's just too many reports of child abuse, people killing their kids, killing their spouses, having their spouses killed by family members. People, the cycle of abuse needs to stop. Something I heard when I was little, and I never really understood when I was a kid, is the old saying is violence begets violence. What that means is, to break it down Barney style, if you have a violent act inflicted upon you, you tend to turn around and give that violence right back. Or if you don't give it back to that person, you just pass it down the line to someone that you feel that you can't get away with abusing and being violent to. So whether that be your kids, your spouse, just some random stranger, violence begets violence, people. The more violence that goes on and occurs, the more violence is going to ensue from that. We got to do better this year. We've got to police our own. And what I mean by that is we've got to keep each other in check, keep each other in the line. If you see somebody getting out of line or getting to that point, try to calm them down. I know that doesn't always work, but if you know the person and you know you can get them to calm down, do it before they do something they'll regret, before you witness something that you'll regret not trying to stop.